Things are getting pretty interesting. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Big Chetty, and today we're talking about Fallout Season 2, Episode 6, and some of the big reveals that we got in this episode. This may sound a little weird, but this episode kind of feels like a part 2 to last episode. Obviously, it's all part of the same season, but it feels like we got a little more development on what happened to Hank and what he's been doing down in the bunker, and sort of unraveling that mystery that we've had since the beginning of the season. And it seems that the show, or maybe rather Hank, is really doubling down on the whole war never changes sort of theme or theory, if you will, where that there's always going to be factionalism, there's always going to be fighting. Why not control people to make them, well, essentially just brain dead? But of course, I don't trust Hank the same way Lucy doesn't really trust Hank. And he's trying to show her that maybe he isn't such a bad guy after all, and there is a little bit of method to his madness, even though his methods are rather uncouth. But it's really hard to trust the guy here. I don't think the show wants you to trust him, but there is clearly something else going on just besides this mind control stuff, and just pacifying the lovely residents that live above ground in post-apocalyptic America. But there's still something going on there. I think I'm going to get into the rest of the plot points and the cool stuff that happened in this episode. But if I had to say one negative thing overall, I think the show is running out of time. Overall, I've really enjoyed the show. It's been fantastic. I'm look at my Vault bomber jacket. Come on, I'm happy to be here. I love Fallout. I'm so happy there's a great TV show, and I think they're doing a fantastic job of representing what the video game really is. That they've captured the essence, and that's great. But this season, while it's fantastic, these plot points, I feel like we need a little bit of resolution to some of them, or perhaps maybe closer to a resolution. I'm not really sure. We've only got 2 episodes left, which I'm very excited to watch them. But I'm liking the show so much, I'm going to be upset when I'm not going to be able to watch season 3 for another year? I believe filming was said to be starting in May of this year, which is fantastic. That's very soon. The turnaround is really great, but that means me as the viewer still has to wait a long time. What I'm trying to get at is I don't have any insider knowledge. I don't know when the show will actually release its 3rd season, but if they're filming in May, chances are it's not going to release until at least 12 months after production wraps. And for a show of this size and the budget they're getting, it's going to take a few months to shoot. So don't expect to see this until, I would say, early to mid 2027 at the best. And my concern is that if we've only got 2 more episodes of this season, they're going to have to pack a lot of resolution into those episodes. There's a lot of plot points that we have built up that I'm so excited to see the conclusion of, or maybe the continuation of in season 3, fine. But I feel like we got a lot of loose ends right now, and I think we need to bring it in just a little bit closer, to essentially stick the landing and keep things the strong concrete foundation that the show has had since the beginning. So with only 2 episodes left, I mean, these could be very action-packed, explosive episodes. And I don't mean that just in terms of actual action, which I feel like we could use a little more in the show, just a little bit more. Things are boiling to a point, and I hope we get to see it boil over, because there's so much to talk about in the show, especially if you're a fan. But getting back on track, we got to see what happened to the ghoul. And of course, he did not expire atop of his, his lamppost, I guess you'll call it. A lot of people were kind of talking about it. I was on Twitter. There was a few people in my community that were like, "What? There's no way he's gone." And I couldn't really say anything because I didn't want to spoil it. But yeah, he's not going to be gone for a multiple variety of reasons, really. I mean, he is one of the 3 main characters. There is a lot of plot development with him, and especially in the past, because the flashbacks that we've been getting have pretty much everything to do with him and his arc. So I highly doubt they would just get rid of him there. On top of that, he is a big part of the show's marketing. Yeah, Lucy, super cute. Yes, Maximus and the power armor, very effective marketing for the show. But the ghoul, I feel like, is the most important. The cowboy hat, sort of that West. I mean, Walter Goggins does a fantastic job playing a cowboy. He's every cowboy ever, and I'm okay with that. But it's a little bit of plot armor, and that's okay. It's fine. He's not going to end his time on the show right there. Plus, if you know the lore of Fallout and you know how Fallout kind of works. You know that the ghouls heal pretty much anything with radiation, maybe to not some extreme extents, but yeah, he wasn't gonna die there. That was just not gonna happen. Something that I was wrong about, and that I'm very happy I was wrong about, was how the ghoul was going to get out of his predicament there. And I thought he was going to pull himself off of it and have this uh, come to Jesus moment where he was like, you know what? No, I'm going to go find my family. I'm going to be a nice person. And that might have been okay, I guess, for a plot point. Because, yeah, he's kind of been a bad dude the last 200 years roaming around the wastelands. But he actually gets saved by a super mutant, which I thought was very interesting. We don't really know much about the super mutant, where he's from, who he is, if he's one of the super mutants from Jacobstown, or perhaps he's one of the super mutants remaining from the Master's army from Fallout 1. It's a little tough to say. However, it sounded like Ron Perlman with some sort of effects on his voice. I mean, the super mutants do have that weird, deep, uh, scary monster voice, but it sounded like Ron Perlman. Am I the only one that heard Ron Perlman there? I could be wrong about that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comment section. But very cool, because Ron Perlman was the voice actor who did the narration for most of the Fallouts. I think up until Fallout 4. I think he did pretty much all of them. So would be a cool illusion to have him in the series. But who this actual super mutant is and what he wants? Seemingly, he wants the ghoul to help him fight the humans for turning them into freaks. And the ghoul says, we both might be freaks, but we got bit by two different bugs, brother. Mine's radiation, yours is FEV. Or wait, he doesn't explicitly say that, but essentially saying that we're two different monsters of two different creations. So whether the ghoul knows about FEV and all that stuff, probably, because the super mutants exist. Some are smart, some can talk, some are just knuckle dragging Neanderthals, but an interesting plot development, and I thought it was kind of brave to introduce that into like one of the last episodes of the season. So I'm kind of curious to see if there's more super mutants in hiding, who exactly he is, how he turned into a super mutant. I don't know. We got to find out. I'm excited. I'm glad we got to finally see a super mutant, because I think they're a very fun, entertaining, but also gross and scary part of the Fallout world. We also got to see the people back in Lucy's vault, or the Vault 33 or Vault 31. I lose track of what vault they're actually in. The point is, we're back at where Lucy's original vault dwellers were, and we're dealing with the inbreeding group, and they're overdoing their snack budget, and like Betty mentioned in the other episode before, that they're running out of water, so giving people salty snacks probably isn't a good idea. And Buddy's arguing that the snacks are part of the Vault Constitution, and you can't. No, this is part, like, we get these snacks. Can't Doesn't matter if there's a ration or not. We get so there's some sort of weird argument there. I can't say I'm too invested in that plot per se. I'm more interested in seeing what Stephanie is doing, and Chet, and how now she's having a conflict with Betty, and where Woody. We lost Woody. Where did Woody go? We lost a big guy. What happened to Woody? I'm a little scared. We lost Woody. Uh-oh. That's not good. So I want to see more of that. The inbreeding circle joke was funny for a little bit, but I think maybe we need to focus more on the actual nefarious plot that's happening down there, because something's not right. Something's wrong. Does Hank's plan have something to do with them back in that vault as well? Are they going down their own path? I'm sure we're gonna find out what's in Hank's box. I'm not too fond of that plot development, that arc right now, especially because I feel like Betty would be doing her best. Like, now's the time for Betty to like weaponize those people. Like, clearly Stephanie has gone awry. Something's gone wrong. And if the experiment's out, then the experiment's out. Forget it. It's survival of the fittest, boys. So she might. I feel like she might have to, or should, weaponize those vault dwellers against the other vault dwellers, because I think we're gonna get a vault war. I think is what's gonna happen. I think both the vaults are gonna do that against each other, but she needs to start doing that now, because Stephanie is much more evil and maniacal than Betty is, and probably will succeed if Betty doesn't start organizing her shit now. We also got a little flashback with Barb herself before the bombs drop, and before that big meeting in season 1, where basically, yeah, she was kind of being coerced into saying Vault-Tec should drop the bombs first. And I think there were some fan theories about that too. Like, there were some fans suggest, like no, she didn't exactly look that comfortable like talking about that. So she may have been under duress to say that. And yeah, it seemingly so. It seems the apparently the Enclave has a hand in Vault-Tec, or more of a hand than we previously thought. Because that guy that talks to her in the elevator was the guy from season one who was from the Enclave, who now also was there pre-war, but also was a guy that survived in some sort of way the 200 years that the apocalypse takes place, or the show takes place after the bombs drop. How the Enclave actually achieved their sort of human preservation, I guess you can call it. Like we've seen cryogenic freezing in the vault pods right now. There's more of like a cryostasis, or more of like a cryo sleep. I don't know what you'd call it. Someone have to correct me. I don't know what you exactly call it when you're sort of hibernating, kind of like Alien. You ever seen the Alien movies? Kind of like that. You go to sleep, you like hibernate for a little bit. You don't age. You're kind of just chilling. But I think that's very interesting stuff. I think the Enclave is a very super secret naughty group that does seem to be at the forefront. The marionettes pulling all the strings, on the forefront, the background, the marionettes pulling all the strings of all the weird, awful things happening in the Fallout world. And it seemingly here is no different. I've seen some people complain about that. I'm not really sure why, because the whole Fallout series is about secret organizations, factions, disgusting, evil things corporations do behind people's backs or behind uh, closed doors. So that's kind of just on brand. So I don't really know why they're upset about that. But at the same time, we also got like a sort of an unconfirmation that Vault-Tec dropped the bombs, because when Barb said that in season one, a lot of people were saying that's it, Vault-Tec did it. And from the games and the lore, it's been theorized that Vault-Tec actually launched the first nuke, but it's never been confirmed by them. So was it the Enclave? I think it's even been theorized it has been the Enclave too, but no one's really sure who it exactly was. And I think that's good because it keeps the mystery alive. It would be interesting to find out who actually did push the button, or the first group to push the button to get China to send their exchange as well. But again, a very interesting episode. Lots of plot development here, and I'm excited to see where that goes. If I had to criticize the show a little bit, I would criticize the writing's convenience. And I've seen a few other people talk about this. One of my favorite YouTubers, Angry Joe. Hi, Angry Joe. Hope you see this. You're a great guy. I love you. Love your stuff. I think he's a really solid reviewer, and I think he had a point, with saying that some of the stuff, some of the things that are happening are a little too convenient. And yeah, that makes sense. And a good example of that is Dog Meat taking the ghoul's hat and running seemingly, dozens or hundreds of kilometers away to get a scent on Thaddeus and Maximus, who had just escaped from the Brotherhood of Steel base, and he finds them, and that's how the episode sort of ends. Like, oh, wait, you found me. Whoa, hey. But they don't exactly have the best relationship, so we're going to see how that goes. I think they're going to try and help each other get back to Lucy, because now he has the cold fusion cell, sliver, whatever it is. But just dog. I mean, that is kind of how Dog Meat works in the games. So I'm not too upset about it. The companions in Fallout are kind of crazy, where you just tell Dog Meat to go away, and he comes back. He'll show up randomly sometimes. So it does make sense for Fallout. It just sometimes things in video games don't always translate well to the medium of TV or movies. And I think that's one thing that doesn't really translate well to TV, movies, or video games, or from video games to movies and TV. But it's not the end of the world. It's totally fine. A little too convenient, but just some food for thought, I guess. I think I need to reiterate how good this show really is. It's a fantastic show, and I'm so happy there's so many new people watching the show and hopefully get involved into the video games, because there is some fantastic video games in the Fallout series. And of course, I hope at some point this year, there's rumors speculating that it might be when the last episode launches, or perhaps sometime after that, shortly after that, that we're getting a Fallout 3 remaster and perhaps a Fallout New Vegas remaster. And I think those are the two perfect games to jump into the series with, especially if they get remastered. They look better, they'll run better, and just some quality of life improvements. They gave Oblivion a facelift, and to me, that is the definitive edition of Oblivion. I know I'd probably get shot from the diehard PC guys for saying that, but for the average person, that is Oblivion now, and it's a more than fair port, not a port, but it's a more fair version of Oblivion. It's completely serviceable, and in some cases better than the original. for newcomers. And that's what I hope those Fallout remasters are, and I hope people really get into it. Because the truth is, regardless of how you feel about the show, I've seen some hate for the show, which feels completely unwarranted to me. Not liking certain things, like me, a longtime huge fan of the series, is totally fair. There's some choices that I am not liking at all, and I have my concerns. But overall, it's a fantastic show. But this show is making Fallout very popular, and it most likely will be the status quo for video game adaptations moving forward. You could argue The Last of Us 2 did a lot for the video game adaptation genre as well, and that's fair, but the season 2 of Last of Us was not great because Last of Us 2, the video game, is a little divided. That's an understatement. And to be honest, of all the video game series on planet Earth, Fallout to me feels like the one that probably should have failed the most, because in reality, video game adaptations have a lot of healing to do. I grew up in the early 2000s. I'm a late 90s kid, grew up in the early 2000s, and there was a few video game adaptation movies. And most of them are not very good, and that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Video games in general have very wacky worlds, crazy plot points, things that are just really hard to put on the big screen in movies and TV. And you can see that in things like Resident Evil. The Resident Evil movie series might have had a okay first one, but it really doesn't have a lot to do with the rest of Resident Evil, and it's sort of separate. The Silent Hill movies aren't very good. The most recent Halo TV show was pretty bad. A lot of these things are really hard to adapt to a big screen, and my point is Fallout might be the hardest, and they've succeeded, in my opinion. So if Fallout can do it, then really anyone can do it, and that means some of our favorite series might actually get the love that they deserve, and this is a good thing. And that means that video game adaptations can be great, just as good as everyone else's favorite drama or primetime show on streaming and in television. This is a good thing. But that's enough yapping for me today. Overall, I really enjoyed the episode. I'm loving this season. I think it's fantastic, and I cannot wait to see more. Make sure you leave a like, guys. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought in the video. Share with your friends. I'm really close to hitting 1K. This is actually kind of crazy. The Fallout community has been coming out and really supporting me. It's been fantastic. I can't wait for that thing I filmed with Fallout to come out too. That's going to be awesome. I love you guys so much. Leave a like, comment, share with a friend, and I will see you guys soon. I got more videos on the way, some more unrelated Fallout stuff too. So I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys. Thanks so much.